Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Wednesday, the 17th of February. John Lavenia here, filling in for Glenn Henderson, who is without power. Actually, I think Glenn got power back. Did Houston get power back? Come in, Houston. Hello, Houston. I don't know. I don't know if, let's see if Glenn's here. He's probably not. Yeah. I saw him on Facebook because I spend like 38 seconds a day on Facebook, and he had like candles, like a tray of candles, like those tea candles. It was all very romantic. But we're probably not going to have Glenn here today. Obviously, I'm hosting this morning, but we do have a few other things on the calendar, one of which may not happen, which is Networking Magic with Glenn. So that's at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's probably coming off the calendar. So just so you know, but we do have a full day regardless for all of our members here, those of you, and I'm seeing a few of you right now. Let's take a look at some of these beautiful people. Hold on a second here before I just start talking and talking. All right, so my eye immediately goes to Jamie and Mark, who just about match. And incidentally, these two guys swap out Thursdays every other Thursday. They are the hosts, right? So tomorrow, which orange shirt guy will we hear from? I think Mark. Mark's up tomorrow. Fantastic. Good to see you, Mark. And of course, I see Evelyn Smith and the other Evelyn Melendez, Madam Chop Chop, who apparently knows more about more topics than like anybody, because we were just talking about diesel exhaust fluid, and she knows what that is too. Evelyn, you're amazing. Suzanne, good to see you. Ivier, Daisy, hello. Therese, Emma, Cyril, Janet, Julia, Carl. Look at this. We got Jody. We got Nicola here. Sandra, Linda, Edward, and more people tuning in as we speak. As you get your cameras running, we'll see you as well. So we do have a couple things on the calendar today. Before we get into the topic, which I don't know what the topic is yet, until I hear it come out of my mouth, I don't know what it is. Mandy Anderson is hosting Books for Britain at 7 p.m. GMT. Okay, so that's 12 o'clock at noon where I sit in Phoenix. So she'll be wrapping up 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with those in the British and European time zones. You can tune into that and discuss the final chapters of the 7 Habits. Also, be sure to get the next book, which I've got links to it in the members site. So I'm really excited about where we're going next. And then we do have at 6 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, we have Adrian Garner with Life and Business Tools. That's always a thrill. Like Evelyn, Adrian knows stuff, lots of stuff. Like that guy is, he's scholarly, he's professorly, and wisdomous. That's not a word, but my wife used that word once. I said, well, actually, the word is wise. She's like, no, wisdomous. So do what you will with that. Let me go ahead and pull up real quick. Let me go ahead and pull up the member site, because I got a couple things I want to show everyone. And then we'll get into a little bit of personal development today, which of course is applicable to whatever we're doing, because everywhere you go, there you are. So go ahead and share my screen. So I just logged into the member site. For those of you who are onlookers, innocent bystanders, this is what it looks like when you log into the member site. So we're pretty much wrapped up with the survey here, because we are planning to get together physically in some regional locations. If you would still like to fill this out and voice your opinion about where you'd like to go physically, notwithstanding COVID and all the other stuff, this is where you would do that. We do have a couple other things that I wanted to put your attention on right now. So we do have a new members profiles section, as requested by one of our core members, Virginia, where you could submit your profile and links to your websites, your products, whatever you're doing. We've got a few people who've already submitted. Look at these beautiful people. There's Ingrid, there's David, Susie, of course, Daisy, always looking awesome. So more profiles. You can just go here, download a template, fill it out, and we'll get it published. No problem. There was another thing I wanted to show you. Is it in here? My goodness. Right, the books. So our next book, Richest Man in Babylon. You can go ahead and click here, get the Kindle version. There's like 100 Kindle versions because it was written in 1926, as I recall. So people republish George's work and try and make $1, whatever. Just go ahead and grab a copy of that. We'll be studying that starting next week. And that's all my screen share for you today. Now you got to look at me. Deal with that. There it goes. All right. So as I was listening to a little bit of the banter before we went live, I was thinking about our many aptitudes, the many talents that we have as individuals, and how in many cases, I would say in almost every case, every single person here who's a part of this mastermind group, the reason that you're a part of this mastermind group, in fact, the reason that we even met in the first place, and we would not have met if it wasn't for this, is because you were seeking something else. We could say something more, something different, an alternative way of earning money, being entrepreneurial, right? So there was something like, I'll lean on Jamie here for a minute because he's a big guy and he's easy to lean on. So he knows about selling diesel exhaust fluid, right? He knows that. That's a known. But what he doesn't know is how to create a passive income using the interwebs and, Amazon and different, modalities of e-commerce, right? And so he became a seeker. So we have what we know, and then we have what we know that we don't know, but we'd like to know. We know that that exists. We heard about those weird people, you see, that they quit their job and they make money online, right? They make money while they sleep. All right, that's interesting. What did I think it was Warren Buffett say? If you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you will work until the day you die. He's also the guy that called Bitcoin rat poison. So it's not the gospel according to Warren Buffett, but there are some I guess ideas that you can get from that, and that one seems to hold water for me. I mean, if you look at just the inflation, right? What your money is worth, which is less than it was yesterday, right? And you look at the global trends, which of course Mark, the other guy with the orange shirt, helps us understand every other. Is it Tuesdays or Thursdays? Thursday on his global and tactical strategic marketing broadcast, which is beautiful, by the way. Mark's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights as to what's going on, the bigger picture, if you will. But we know that we've got these methods in place, and we know that there are other methods that exist because we've observed them as onlookers, and we've considered, well, that could be for me. I mean, why not me? Right? These other people have done it. They don't seem that much more intelligent than me. In fact, I've done a lot of work in the home business space, and some of the top producers in like the relationship marketing, network marketing, that whole space, some of the top producers are very simple in their approach and their communication. They don't occur to me anyway as exceedingly, scholarly or something, right? Like I would feel bad for them if they were in a debate with somebody like, Adrian Garner, right? Or some of the other people who I consider highly intellectual. And yet they connect with people, and they transfer a confidence and a belief, an enthusiasm that, yes, you can have it too. In fact, when we look at the psychology of enrolling, right? I'll use that word, the psychology of enrolling people, whether we're enrolling them into an opportunity, like in the example that I just gave, or enrolling them into the purchase of a product or a coaching program, or like an information product, some sort of consultative experience, something where they could better themselves and their lives, their experience with a product, their experience of knowing more and having an education and being able to execute and reach goals. When we enroll them, really that's what it comes down to, is the idea of transferring some confidence, some enthusiasm about this potentiality, this possibility, which they know exists. Otherwise they wouldn't be in your midst, right? Just like what I mentioned here before, none of us would be in this mastermind group if we were not seeking more, seeking additional answers that we know that we don't know. We know that we don't know. Okay, good. So they know that they don't know and that they would like to know. But there's a step of not knowingness that goes even beyond this. And that is not knowing what you don't know. And which sounds like a triple negative or something here. And this is where it gets dangerous, because a lot of times people will look at, here's an example of someone who's succeeded in this endeavor, right? They are the greatest, diesel exhaust fluid salesman in the world, let's say. I'm going to go and I'm going to beat his record. And that may be a far out example, Jamie, but You get what I'm saying? So because I know that such things exist, I'm just going to show up because, I mean, this Jamie guy doesn't look like much to me. I could, I can just come on here and like Godzilla, man, and stomp my way through, and they get their ass handed to them. They don't know that they don't know. And there's lots of stuff to know. In any worthy endeavor, is there any effortless victory? Now, I know that I've seen the sales pitch before where you click the easy button, right? And the magical system does all the work for you, and you can remain an idiot, right? That's fine. Go be an idiot, and you're going to get rich anyway. I've seen that sales pitch, and amazingly, people buy it. As the old saying goes, there's an ass for every seat, right? And people, a lot of times, and we're talking a lower intelligence kind of inclination here or aptitude, will opt for that which will be done for them because they can't or won't do for themselves or even learn for themselves. By the way, those people aren't in this conversation. They probably should be, although at this point it would be deaf ears. It would be a deaf ears type of situation, because what we find is that the most productive people, in other words, the people that gain the most control over their environment, over their circumstances, right? And their stats, their results, their production, the people who gain the most control are exactly those same people who accept the most responsibility. So control and responsibility go together inseparably. But underlying all of that, and this is something I've lectured on in seminars and such, right? Where I've talked to people about people who want to advance their career, their sales, or get into a new situation, right? They want to engage in, let's say, a new path of financial literacy, right? And passive incomes and things like this. And so I bring up this topic of control. I mean, who makes the most money? He who controls money, right? Typically that's banks, right? Financial institutions, they control money, they make a lot of money. Okay. And they are also arguably, right? And there's lots of ways to look at this. They are accepting more responsibility for that money. But what underlies all of that? Knowledge, right? Knowing stuff. You can't accept responsibility for that which you know not. And that's where education comes in. And typically this is, let's say I was giving you a sales pitch right now for why you should buy the course, join the mastermind group, participate in the seminar, upgrade to the next product level, whatever it happens to be. If you want a higher level of control, which we've already established that everyone in this conversation finds pleasing, right? Yes, I'd like to have control and dominion and freedom in my life, right? Those things go together. And yes, I'm willing to accept more responsibility. Well, then great news, ladies and gentlemen, great news. All you got to do is learn some stuff. Because look, if you already knew, you'd already be doing it. Nobody knows how to reach a goal until they've reached it. That's knowing that you don't know, which is a huge upgrade from not knowing what you don't know, right? Knowing that you don't know is a big upgrade. In fact, I'll relate to, this goes right back to like the shooting range, right? So here's here's a group of students who are showing up because, and I don't know what the exact statistic is, Mark, maybe you do, 5 million new gun owners in 2020 in the United States, something like 5 million people decided that's it. I'm going to go ahead and exercise my rights here. And so those 5 million people who before would look at, here's the scary thing. It's black. It can kill people. It's you and I know, right? It's a machine. It's a tool. It's here's what's could be dangerous, right? Not this machine, right? You could take a screwdriver and kill somebody, but this tool seems scary because they got a lot of press about that. And now that they've confronted that and not avoided that, now that they've confronted that, they show up on course knowing that they don't know. Now that is way, way, way better than the person who thinks they're a tough guy because they got a gun. Way better. That person's dangerous. The person on course can be deadly, but not dangerous. Big difference. Big difference, right? So ignorance is not bliss. No. But acknowledge of ignorance. What did Socrates say? This was arguably one of the most wisdomous guys of his era, right? He said, I know nothing but the fact of my ignorance. Bam! He got it, right? So the more you know, the more you don't know. But we can't be, and this is where my brain was going when I was hearing Jamie and Evelyn talk before we went live, right? You can't be all things to all people. it's the old, jack of all trades, master of none sort of a thing. So while I believe you can have anything you want in your life, and we're demonstrating that, many of us are making huge advances in life, right? So yes, you can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything you want. So I want to be an astronaut and a horse jockey and a sumo wrestler. I mean, think of that dichotomy. In fact, I think that's one of the ones that I brought up in my first book, right? You can't be a horse racing jockey and a sumo wrestler at the same time, right? I mean, sumo wrestlers are like 500, 600 pounds, right? Huge, right? Horse jockeys are like, I'm like twice the size of a horse jockey, and I'm a 5'6" Italian guy, I weigh 170 pounds, right? These guys are like 80 pounds, like amazingly small people, right? And they've got a huge advantage, right? I mean, what does that shirt weigh? Well, how much does that boot weigh versus the other kind of boot that you could get? We're talking about a few ounces. Speed, right? We're talking about racing now. Completely different world than sumo wrestling and pounding your weight through a ring to shove the other guy out or something. So choose. That's the opportunity. You get to choose. And I think the interesting part of this is that because we already know stuff, and we know that we know, right? Jamie knows about death, right? Evelyn knows about a lot of stuff. She really knows like social media, and there's a couple things that she has, I would say, specialized in more than others. But, and here's the big but, not the sumo wrestler guy, not that but, a different but. Okay, but here's the but. If we're going to reach in this new direction, then we're going to have to say no to all these other things that could take our attention. They could. That's an opportunity, but we can't have everything. We can't have anything. All right, so how about that? I choose that. And here's why I choose that. And now I'm getting really clear on my why. I saw the other example. I've got the mentor in this area. The planets are aligning. The red carpet is rolled out. I am seeing clearly that this is a path I could go down. I had a conversation with the client yesterday. Never met the guy before in my life. And he was looking to expand his business online. And so we had a little consultation. And turns out we had some of the same influences and inclinations in spiritual life, right? We've studied some of the same scripture and teachers and all this, and we hit it right off, right? So that was interesting to me, that two people engaged, coming at it from very different positions, right? Here he is engaged in an industry which I know almost nothing about, and here I am engaged in an industry which he wants to know more about, but knows that he doesn't know, right? This is, building businesses online. And so we met and we found common ground in something that fuels, I would say, in terms of, in this case, like a spiritual path and personal development, like what we do here, right? It fuels both completely different industries. And so we found commonality in that and affinity in that. And I learned something. I learned a bit about his industry, which I had no idea about. Which in this case was law, right? So he's a lawyer, and all I know about law is most of this stuff is written exceedingly long with words I don't understand, and I know a few good lawyer jokes, right? And that's about it, right? In terms of law, that's just not interested, right? Not my path, right? I didn't choose that. In fact, Ralph Emerson said, "In every act of genius, we recognize our own rejected thoughts." Right? Could I have chosen to go down that road? I could have, right? I mean, law school is available for anybody, I guess, who could pass a basic aptitude test or something. I've already proven that if I'm interested, I've got a high aptitude for stuff. You guys know I just went through that whole ham radio examination thing and crushed it, right? And frankly, I'm not even into math, right? Like, okay, if I got to learn the math, I'll learn the math because I want to do the radio thing. Great. So interest renders aptitude. But here's the point. Some of us dilute ourselves so thin that the jack of all trades syndrome persists. And I'm thinking, you know what, with the amount of potential that we each have, I would say that we all have, but I want to make sure that you own this for yourself. The amount of potential that you have, each of us, right? If you're engaged in this conversation, you're already placing yourself head and shoulders above those who are just watching kitten videos and doing whatever to entertain themselves, hoping that somebody will present them with an easy button because I can't. I can't is their mantra, which really means I won't, which really means I'm a victim. I am irresponsible. Therefore, you control, right? And those people will have a lowering standard and be at the effect of some outside agenda like a corporation probably until the day they die. Right? So we've got a bit more of a self-reliant approach. We're looking to be a bit more causative, which again is what this whole conversation is about. So then my suggestion then, and I'm saying this to myself, so listen up, John. Here it comes. Here it comes. Choose what you're going to say no to. Whew. Oh, I hate missing opportunities. I hate missing opportunities. I saw that thing. It was shiny, right? But man, I just started going down this path here. And I decided that after 50 years on planet Earth, it's about friggin' time for me to focus on this. And in my case, in case you're wondering, it's more like financial literacy stuff, creating that passive income, getting more into capital gains and not just earned income, right? Earned income is good. Best investment I've ever made in myself is in my own education, my ability to learn and to produce, right? To earn money, right? To create business and things like that. Great investment. Great. What about these other investments where I don't even have to show up? You, Suzanne, you're competent. Here, have some money and go grow my investment. Go be awesome, please. Here's some money, right? That sounds kind of wacky to me, especially growing up amongst so much incompetence and the mantra of if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, right? That's an interesting trap. And yeah, it holds water in certain ways, right? If you're a self-employed person, you know that the one who's got to get it done is you. And the last one to get paid is going to be you. And it's that sort of self-reliant and causative inclination that each of us have in various degrees that allows us to excel, right? If we focus that attention on something. I don't think you could be all things to all people. I don't think you can dilute yourself to the point where your primary business focus is an afterthought and still somehow excel. And I would say that one of the reasons that many of us have excelled in various areas is because we've taken actual delight in it. We've actually become diligent. We've said, you know what, I'm going to say no to these other things because damn it, I'm going to master this. This is going to put food on the table, right? This is going to put fruit on the tree. And so let me forsake these other interesting and shiny pursuits for now, right? Everything's temporary, but right now, meaning in present time, let me go ahead and master this. And once I've got this up and running, I've got some momentum with this. Now I can put some attention, maybe delegate some repetitive stuff, right? And put employees in place or whatever. And now I can start building momentum over here. Yes, multiple streams of income, whether we're talking about earned income or capital gains, okay? Yes, multiple streams of income. But again, I think where a lot of people fall down is they don't know that there's so much more to this story than just clicking the easy button. So I know right now we've got people engaged in multiple businesses here, and I applaud you. That is huge. That is awesome. In some cases, we've had to cut bait from option A, which after a year or whatever isn't producing, right? And we don't see a light at the end of that tunnel. I hate cutting bait. I hate cutting my losses. Hate. I hate missing opportunities. What if, right? And that's a dangerous spot to be because living in the maybe, right? Maybe is crazy. Okay, so we got to make decisions. Okay, and I already made the decision yes to this, and then in some cases I don't even get to decide, right? In some cases I've had I've helped a company get off the ground. We've done a big marketing push, brought in millions of dollars, and then it hits the rocks, and everybody's out. That's it. We're out. You don't get to choose, John. You don't get a vote in that deal. Okay, so in that case it's pretty easy to cut bait. But let's say we got something brewing and it's not quite bearing fruit. Well, and we start taking something else on. Is this something that realistically now, if you got to take your own inventory, that I'm passionate enough about to then say no to something else to be able to put my attention on this? Because I already got this running and I'm not cutting loose on this. Okay, but I just took this other thing on. Am I interested enough? Or do I have people in my midst? Maybe it's a partnership, maybe it's which is also dangerous, but maybe it's a situation where I've got competent employees, right? Or subordinates or associates or whatever, who could take this ball and run with it. And I can give that guidance and I can, kind of help master that situation. But am I interested enough in it? Because I don't think there's any effortless victories, which is where we started all this with. I don't think I can just show up as a passive participant. So for me, and I guess the whole point of this conversation, it comes back to like the same truth that we keep, I keep examining, and that is, what am I doing with my time? What can I get done? If the anatomy of success is completing what you start, what am I interested enough in that I will complete if I actually start it? And then I could take inventory and I could look at these other things like option A, which hasn't come to fruition yet, right? I can look at that and I could say, am I interested enough to keep that going? And is there a big enough light at the end of the tunnel, where I know that, there's a big carrot there, right? It's worth me showing up for. I don't know if any of you struggle with, the idea of missing opportunities. I hate missing opportunities, right? Because there's so many. There's so many good, right? But as we already discovered, we can't be all things to all people, nor can we dilute ourselves to the point where we start lying to ourselves and thinking that it's going to be easier than it actually is. Look, if success was easy, everybody would have it. It would be mediocrity. My friend Grant Cardone talks about the 10X principle. So whatever you think it's going to take to hit your goals, do 10 times that. And that's a very simplified look at your estimation of effort. But I would say most people underestimate the effort. And some of that's real, right? You guys have seen this in your own life where you've underestimated the effort. I remember talking to one of us recently about just the amount of red tape and paperwork and stops, all the stops between them and where they wanted to be in this certain, like the Amazon business model, because they're in a certain country and, all the bureaucracy around it. Okay. So those things you didn't know that you didn't know going in. Okay. But at the same time, that person could also be pursuing something else where they've got a bit more causation. They've got a bit more self-determinism and less bureaucracy. And for me, that's how I like to live. I was just, and I'm going to wrap up with this. I've been talking 26 minutes. Not bad for not knowing what the topic was. Great topic. I just got to figure out what the title is. If somebody's got a title, put it in the chat. But I was working with this company that wanted me to, they do want me to help their clients, and yet they're very rigid in their protocols and the way they like to do things. And I'm not talking about just customer service, but actually how a client is brought on board and sold and all of that. And my ego doesn't like that, because my last job that I ever worked, like in a corporation, I was told what to do. And I was more competent and more able and more motivated, by the way, than the people giving me the decree. Don't give me your friggin' decree, right? I'm the toughest manager I've ever had. I'll take care of this department. I own this now, right? And so this client of mine who wants me to do this work for them, they've got all these rules in place, and I could see why. Because you want something done right, you do it yourself. So they've had a hard time getting good help, dealing with incompetent people. So they've codified this whole regimen, and then you do this, and then you do that, and it's all very linear, and you cannot deviate. And so I deviate a bit, and they were like, "Oh, that's not how we do it." It's like, well, there's the stats that I just put on the board. So we could look at the stats, or we could look at the dogmatic approach to whatever. And so there's a little bit of this right now, a little bit of headbutting, and it's all very nice and cordial. And the truth is, they want to be able to trust people who they're not directly controlling. And that's hard. That's hard for corporations, which is why I don't work for a corporation. Don't tell me what to do. Right. So think about that. Are you in a position where you're the toughest manager you've ever had, because you can say yes to the right things, say no to the right things? You've got enough knowledge. You've done enough education and gaining of wisdom. You've become wisdomous enough to know that, yes, I am responsible for this zone of genius, which I do have control over. So those three things, right? Knowing stuff, right? Knowledge, and accepting responsibility for what you know, and therefore gaining control, right? Those three things, when you put them together, and they have to go together, you can do amazing stuff. Oh my goodness. If I look at those three things as it relates to what I'm doing in my life right now, I can see where there's gaps in my knowledge. Ignorance is not bliss. I know that I don't know. I know that I'm ignorant in certain areas that I'm interested in. So now the effort for me is, how much time and attention can I put on this new field of endeavor? In my case, financial mechanisms and passive income kind of stuff. How much attention can I put on that while at the same time maintaining the 4 businesses that I'm running, right? So yeah, spread kind of thin, but these things are in momentum. These things, it's not all just John. It's not all just me, right? I know a lot of times we got solopreneurs, right? Or the solopreneur kind of mentality where you're alone, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen because you did it. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. I commend you. And I would ask you to see ways that you can find leverage. And if that means bringing in an expert, that's what I'm looking to do with Shannon, my wife and I. We've got one business where we're thinking, you know what? We know that we don't know. These people over here, look at their stats. Holy crap. Maybe we can hire them, right? So food for thought. I hope you got something out of this. That's where my mind was going, just based on the 30 or so seconds that I heard before we went live. I just want you to win. All of us deserve to win. If not you, then who? You're so worthy and so able, so able. I don't believe you are. I know you are. Thank you. I'm done talking. Let's bring out Jamie. He's got his hand up. Jamie with the diesel exhaust fluid. Hey, Jamie.
It's so over everybody's head, I think. A couple of things I wanted to say. I wanted to kind of revert back to way back when I don't even know when this was, but I had quoted somebody, our Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had a quote that was controversial and somewhat interesting. He said, and I'm going to quote this: "Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me because as we know, there are known unknowns. There are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know, but there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know. And if one looks throughout the history of our country and other free countries, it is the latter category that tends to be the difficult ones." So that spoke to me when you were talking about knowledge and knowing what you don't know and knowing what you know. And the other thing, which you just said, you just brought up, we talked about this a long time ago, was, spending money on the expert who knows more than you do, and that decision that lies there that if you don't make that decision to bring in the expert, how much money would you lose having not taken that opportunity to bring the expert in to bring in more, right? So that spoke to me as well. And I believe in that as well, that there's a ton of people that know more than I do. It doesn't mean I'm not knowledgeable, just to know what I don't know. And it's sometimes worth spending that money to bring that knowledge in and to take advantage of it. So.
Thank you, Jamie. You're reminding me of the difference between like a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. So if you have a goal and you know it's reachable and you don't know how to get there, which nobody does, but these people do, is it worth that investment? What's your time worth? My goodness. That's been an interesting one for me, having grown up with really no examples of leverage or abundance mindset. I'm still working on that after decades, right? So just being so steeped in scarcity and lack and limitation, right? And fear, right? Afraid to reach, afraid to be bigger than what my station in life was yesterday or 5 minutes ago.
I also think, real quickly, that's a control issue with a lot of people too, right? If I give up control to somebody who's supposed to know more than I do, what have I given up? I think that's obviously ego and modesty, and just to surrender and say, yeah, the person knows more. I think I could take advantage of that. So, sometimes giving up those things.
Thank you, Jamie. And everyone understand, we're talking the difference between hiring experts who do the work and by their fruits you'll know them, versus what I was talking about before, which has been referred to as shiny object syndrome, right? Which is the quick fix, easy button or something, which really doesn't exist. So it's a big difference, and you got to be able to discern that difference. That's why you got to be a fruit inspector. Look at the fruits, right? I'm not talking about hype. I'm talking about stats. Big difference. So who else has some thoughts on this? Becoming great at something. Hey, Nicola, how are you?
Hello. Good. I really enjoyed that today, John. It's very timely. So I thought I'd maybe just share some of the decisions I've made over the past week or two. So last year, when I left my corporate role, I had two kind of income streams I was pursuing, and then took on the third, which was Amazon. And all throughout last year, it kind of felt like the right thing to do, because everything I was hearing as a kind of new entrepreneur was multiple streams of income. So I kind of kept pushing all three. But just the past few weeks, I came to the realization that I was never going to become great at any of them anytime soon if I continue to try and just edge forward on all three. And I thought, if I get to the end of this year, will I be proud of the fact I've just made a marginal gains in all three of them? And the answer was no. The reason I left work was I wanted to become an expert in something. I've always been quite a generalist in my role as a kind of middle manager type role. And it really just kind of got me thinking, what is it really that I want to be? What am I most passionate about? What do I really want to do? And what's getting in the way of that? So that's why I made the decision, only last week really, to pause the Amazon journey. So on one hand, it's kind of now limiting my income streams to just two. So that makes me kind of slightly nervous, because it's just reduced that. But on the other hand, I know I can achieve far more, probably far quicker, having freed up that time. And what I've noticed, literally, as soon as I made the decision, it wasn't so much, I went into my diary and you can clear out the time that I spent on Amazon, which was great. But what I realized is the amount of mental space it takes up, just having one less thing to juggle in your mind is massive. Like, it really is quite a big weight off your shoulders, because you don't need to try and keep up with all the latest updates and training and courses. And so it's quite freeing, I think, to have made that decision now. And of the two businesses I'm running, I've prioritized one that I'm absolutely going to become the expert in this year. And I don't think I would have been able to do that had I continued to run and try and achieve three things. I think it's just too much. Like you say, it depends where each of the businesses are in their maturity, but mine were all new and take a lot of effort to get off the ground. So yeah. And actually, just sitting here reflection as well, and we're probably all in a similar position, it's quite a nice place to be, to have, it's a nice decision to make. It's like, right, there's three things I'm interested in. Which two do I want to choose? And you don't always get that opportunity in life, but choosing an entrepreneur path, you do. So just quite grateful for that decision. Not everyone gets to do that in a lifetime. So yeah.
Thank you, Nicola. And this lifetime is not like any other. With the amount of technology that we have and the speed at which we can communicate and transfer information and do business, you got so many choices, which is a blessing and a curse, right? I was just having this conversation with some of my ham radio friends yesterday about a new radio rig, and there's so many choices, which is good news and bad news, right? So choose. Good luck. Now, in your case, you've got a passion for certain things and, a favorable opinion of other things. But I don't know anyone who's excelled, like you mentioned the word expert, anyone who's became an expert at something they weren't passionate about. So maybe that's the barometer. It's like, what would you do, whether you got paid for it or not? What causes you to lose sleep? What are you up until 2 a.m. researching? Oh, right. And how do you monetize that? Yeah.
It was that, I think Glenn held a session about 2 weeks ago and asked us a series of questions. And that was one of the questions he asked: what would you do if you didn't get paid for it? And I think that's maybe what triggered it in my mind. I started writing it down and it just became a bit clearer then.
Right. And look, I honor everyone who's on the Amazon path. That's not an easy path. I do e-commerce a very different way, and it's super, super simple, and it's not something I talk about in public. But I know a lot of people have said, John, can you show us, another path on that? And yeah, it produces really good. And it's something that I've got an interest and an aptitude for. Helium-10 and other tools and analytics and such, sourcing and different countries and shipping and all. You know what? I'll let other people handle that. That's not going to be my path. At least not right now. I could change my tune later. I don't know. But right now, it's not my path. So, but I honor whatever your path is. Look, we're getting value into the marketplace. That's the purpose of why we even show up, right? So, speaking of showing up, guess who's here, ladies and gentlemen? Are you ready? Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Ego Obi is with us. Hey.
I was born ready. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. John, as always, you're spot on. On very many levels, you talked about a lot of things today, which really resonate and kind of confirms, some of the, things that, what I've been thinking about or grappling with, and even, my CEO superstar accountability girls would know what I'm talking about. So say yes or no to the right things. I totally agree with that. And I've been, I was talking to them today about opportunities or options that are available to me. And, by thinking I can do all of them, I'm spreading myself thin, right? But then over the last few months, through being involved in this group, being part of the CEO Freedom Accelerator, I've reached a point of, a different kind of confidence and clarity, right? Confidence and clarity where I'm now redirecting my focus. And sometimes in doing that, some sort of distraction shows up, dressed up, nice and pretty, looking really attractive. And it, in a, pretty bow, and you almost get swayed. In talking to the team today, I kept getting asked the question, what do you want? What do you want? What is your heart telling you? And of course, I know what my heart is telling me, but I was kind of thinking about, well, if I do this and this and this, I can still do this. But the truth is, that's not the case. I had to come back to my why and my passion. My passion, paid or not, right? Like you rightly said, and Glenn alluded to as well. And if I then come back and present those options, the one that looks the glossiest and the easiest, because we talked about hitting that easy button, that will not get me to where I want to be from a passion point of view. So paid or not, what am I passionate about? Will that glossy option get me there? The answer is no. And with the kind of person that I am, I give my all into everything I lay my hands on to do. So I know that if I go with that option, I will not. I would be resentful because I know that I should be somewhere else. So just kind of joining this call today and the further call with Nicola, I know for a fact that this is confirmation that I'm taking that step. I'm walking away from that shiny object into where I'm applying my passion to be the best that I've been called to be.
Wow.
So thank you.
Thank you. Ego, you said the word resentment, and it went right through me, because there are times when I've sat in resentment, sometimes unexpressed resentment. And what is that? That's a victim position, right? That's you caused me, or you stopped me, right? I'm effect, right? That's a yucky spot to be in. How blessed you are to have the self-confidence to make those assessments and to know if I go down that path, that's who I get to be. I get to be effect, right? So, wow, Ego. By the way, I haven't completed your book yet, but I'm in your book. Anyone who doesn't have Ego's book yet, grab it on Amazon. So, it's not just about her hair, in case you were wondering. So, Lavenia, I go, all right. Oh, and well done on your participation with the CEO Freedom Accelerator. For anyone who doesn't know, like, what is she talking about? That is my wife's, Shannon's program that she recently released. And oh my goodness, the results. It's a ladies program, entrepreneurial ladies. So sorry, guys. But yeah, if you're a lady and you're looking to like blast off your results, get with Shannon. You can find her at shannonlavenia.com. Who else? Any other talking people who would want to talk? Commence talking. I'm not seeing hands. Shall we wrap up with that? Okay, let's go ahead, and we're going to get together with Mandy at on Books for Britain. I'm going to be in an appointment, so I'm not going to be there live. But Mandy, thank you for all you do. And then once again, we do have Adrian Garner with Life and Business Tools at 6 p.m. Eastern. I am going to go ahead and take Networking Magic off the calendar because I have not heard from Glenn at this point. And so poof, it is gone. All right. So Glenn will resume with us next week on Wednesday night. Thanks again, you guys. Have an awesome day.